I want to talk about design and my philosophy of design. I'm relatively a young designer in terms of architecture, but I've been designing interior design probably for about 10 years, maybe more. My first building is just coming up right now in Turkey, and I have designed another villa here. I had a lot of designs back then, but implementation was not that fast, or it was partial. My understanding of design is actually very much close to a philosophical mind. How you put a philosophy clearly is very much goes in parallel with design, because design probably at its core defines a problem and kind of defines the problem in its language, and it answers with a new language to that problem. So it kind of builds its own language also. It's a proposal rather than a final solution, especially if you really need to involve an aesthetic aspect of it. So from the beginning, the design always kind of taught in schools in three. You should cover three subjects. One of them is the aesthetic part, the other one is the function part, and the last one is the durability, the strength. So this triangle it's a very, I understand, is a very simplified version of what reality is, but it's still valid, I think, in many ways, and it's there. But what we can easily say about, how would I put it? Out of this tree, two of them are kind of very symmetric, very you can design. It's process oriented. It's very realistic. So you know what to do to do a building strong and durable. You need to use the right engineering methodology. You need to follow certain method of statements and specifications. It's kind of a very technical part of things. You don't need to really worry about, if you have the budget and the right methodology. I don't think you will have any problem with that. Even with the functions, that's the same. Functions may kind of add value on the semantic, the aesthetic part of things. I can understand that. In many, especially in architecture, where you kind of define architecture. I want to just put something there, by the way, just to understand. So let's put what we design. So there is a so-called, we have city designers, so city planners. I said so-called because of course they are involved there, but cities kind of grow very multidisciplinary, politically affected, economical local dynamics is so complicated. But of course some cities are kind of really designed in a very strong manner. So that's another scale that you come down to. From there you come down to the building scale, which is the architect's main subject. And then you have the interior design. Again, it's the subject of the interior designer, when the scale is come down to two elements coming together. And then you can go even for product. The scale of interior design is just the scale of a room. The room could be big, it could be a ballroom, or it could be a small guest bathroom. So it depends on the size of the room, but it's at the end of the day, it's a room, it's an enclosed area. I wouldn't say interior design is very much related with the outside of the building. It has relation, but the scale is much more smaller. And if you go for product scale, it's even smaller than a room. It's just a product. It could be a chair or a table. So it goes on all, and nowadays we have even smaller gadgets that we use, which is a part of, again, the industrial designers scope work. So coming back to the most interesting part of all the things, adding this aesthetically viable aesthetic properties, the semantic, to make something strong there. I think we are in a good state. We are in a good century right now to go and check what's being liked by people right now, and from there onwards, maybe we can do a kind of a reverse engineering to understand, why people like certain things better than the other ones. So I was talking about the scale of design, starting from cities. The scale is the city is a quite big area. It's kind of very very complex. Sociology is there, economics are there, politicians are there, big money is there, a lot of things are there. The culture is there, old and new things, a lot of things are there, so it's kind of big scale. And then from there we come down to building scale. The building is a subject of architects. So architects are the objects of building design, and the buildings are the subjects. There they define their relation with surroundings, they define their program with the clients. That's their scale. If you come down to interior design is a scale where you only design a room, just put two things together. Usually it's probably with ceiling four maximum 5 walls we are talking about, planes. Of course, to make that one elaborate and aesthetics is a different ball game. We will come to that one also as a part of this discussion. And then we have the product design. It could be a table and chair, and even smaller than that one we have the gadgets, even the phones and even photo cameras, whatever. Now, in this grand scheme of things, all of them have different dynamics, but these 3 properties are still applicable for all of them. They have to be durable and have the minimum strength to be standing and staying still. They have to be functional, they have to have a function, and they have to have the aesthetics. After, maybe we might miss some dimensions, but at the moment, for the sake of the argument, they are irrelevant. Most probably these 3 covers more than 95, maybe 98, 99% of the whole subject. So the one that I am most interested, because durability and let's come to our subject, architecture and interior design, basically. Durability and function, kind of systematic, kind of engineered, because for durability, for structure, you know what you're gonna do. You have technology there that you need to use, and then when you use those technology, you know that if you have the budget and the methodology and you know how for it, you can do it. Now, for the function, let's give an example of a restaurant or a hotel or a spa. Now, of course, you can do something different within the market, but if you want to do something traditional, even the functions are kind of defined. Like when you enter an office, you have a reception, and then you have an open co-working space, then you have highly individualed pods, then collaboration areas, meeting rooms, IT area, pantry, like kind of the functions are already set. Is it still open for architects, designers, intervention and interpretation? Of course, but it still has a structure that you can follow. Coming to semantics and let's say the artistic part, where you have add the value for uniqueness, timeless, and to gain being different from the existing ones, and to gain a new audience that people cannot define through their logical interpretation, but mostly it comes from the heart, but I would say probably it's more emotional for them, is the aesthetic part of things, which is the one that I want to talk about. Probably this is the one that probably nobody knows, and I actually always want to have the way a philosopher think and a concept designer think probably overlaps here. A designer, of course, should think about structure and the function, obviously, especially in architecture and interior design, but architectural more. But the semantics here, the aesthetic things, could be something not only visually appealing, but it could be clever in a sense that, it might win the heart through the mind. This is something that I really. This is not, of course, for everybody. Some people would like to see. I have actually used a very interesting word today when I was giving a comment for one of the projects that we did in Turkey. It was an architectural design in a village, and we use concrete, bare concrete, brut béton in French, and we use the shuttering of that one also inside cladding. From my perspective, what I understand there, after I thought that I was doing something modern, but I never thought that in this world now, modernism could be considered as an eclectic behavior, because at its core, if I had to look that if I didn't use the, I could have easily used some other material there for the new, from the new age materials that will have probably better U values, but I still use concrete, and I can feel like I kind of used it from a personal preference, because I was also the client there myself, because it was our own design, our design house as CK Architecture Interiors in Turkey. What I'm trying to say here is that sometimes you believe you do something for an aesthetic reason, but also you believe that you also have your own reasons logically. But at the end of the day, it can be easily refined and defined again. That's coming from your core belief systems. Here, the concrete was an example of that. Of course, I'm not denying the fact that in the vernacular, in the so-called vernacular architecture there, which is the traditional architecture in that space, in quotations, they have kind of repeated the stone cladding over concrete structures, which I honestly despise, if sometimes even get angry. I don't know how strong feelings I might have, because nowadays we have better technology, even concrete in that sense better. By the way, in many ways, what we did there was try to give a statement, a strong statement, in an environment where the context was not really that strong. So coming back to summary, so we talked about scale of designs, different scales, different disciplines, but they are all kind of interconnected. All has in the core human ergonomy and human life. And then we talk about the three main pillars of the design, which is the durability and the structure. And then we talked about the material, the function, and we talk about the semantic, which is the aesthetic part, which I believe is having a correlation with philosophical way of thinking. and I give an example of that, and I want to continue with that one and end this discussion there. So, for example, a philosopher, in that sense, when he constructs a new way of thinking, it kind of creates its own jargon, new terminology for certain things that other people used, and he builds on them usually, or he probably kind of neglects them all and kind of puts a new thing. It's like minus plus kind of thing. So thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. So I think here also what a designer does to make something more aesthetic, he has to go through either from a traditional way of getting things done in a repeated way, or to neglect what's there existing, to reject it and put something new. In any case, what's going to come up to be meaningful to someone is important, depending on how you look at it. What I'm trying to say is that your client might not be happy about it, but everybody might be loving it. Your client might be loving it, but nobody will be liking it. In an interesting word that I said in Turkish, as the architect, I am the object of a subject where, when I finish the subject and I'm done with the building, other objects will use me as a subject to judge my work. I don't know if I can make myself clear, but it's a transition from this dream to a reality, materialization, and then back from there in other people's mind, you go back to another unmaterialized world and have your interpretations, your own works interpretations in other people's mind. It's kind of the beauty of this, I think, design thinking. Thank you very much.